Welcome into Up in the Rafters, a podcast brought to you by Inside Carolina this college basketball season. I'm Taylor Vippolis hosting this, and as always, joining me, he's a national champion, Final Four's most outstanding player, Carolina basketball legend Joel Berry. Joel, a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays, a Happy New Year to you, a Happy New Year to all the listeners. Before we get into the basketball, just how's the break been for you? How's the holidays been for you?
Man, the holidays were great, man. My kids are starting, at least my oldest one, she's starting to understand who, Santa Claus and the whole Christmas thing. So now my wife and I can start getting a little creative in what we're doing. The 1-year-old, we just wrap boxes and he opened it and it's just a box. That's all. He doesn't know what's going on. So it's good times though. Right now, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I'm kind of battling a little cold. That also comes with this time. I'm a Floridian, man. My blood is still kind of warm.
Is this your flu game podcast?
Yeah, this is my flu game podcast. Kind of fitting too with what's been going on. But holidays were good, man. I hope the same for you.
Are you an Elf in the Shelf family?
I don't know what that is.
It's like the families who have the elf and the elf kind of shows up in a new place.
No, we're more of we do like the pickle in the tree, and
I've never heard of that.
Whoever finds the pickle gets the special present.
Wow.
But I for me, Christmas is like kind of weird because growing up in Florida, like it never felt like Christmas. So I wasn't huge on Christmas. So
yeah.
I'm kind of a downer. So
yeah. Have the kids kind of changed that for you?
It definitely has. I'm a giver naturally, so like I want to make it as special as possible for them. So having the kids definitely has changed it. I will say my wife too, because I'm like putting on the brakes for her wanting to decorate the whole house. I mean, soon as it hits the time for it to decorate, everything has to be up. I'm like, slow down. So my family definitely has helped me get that Grinch out of me a little bit.
with your wife, how late does the tree stay up?
Oh, it just went down. I just put it down before the second tree. This is how crazy it gets. We got tree downstairs, tree upstairs. Just took down the second tree today. So still got the garland up though.
It had a good run, but going to the basketball, Carolina loses at Louisville. They lose by a score of 83-70. Biggest takeaways from that game, Joel?
Man, there's a lot of takeaways. I think we need a longer podcast to get to some of those. But overall, I just think, in the ACC, it really comes down to the small details and in the midst of close games, like it comes down to the wire, and you have to be the better team. Carolina fought their way back in once again after being down, and the last 5 minutes really decided the game. And I just think those are the things that you work on in practice, are those last 5 minutes, being able to score, get a stop, and just really, I think defensively, this team is way behind where they should be at this point in the season.
Yeah, when you're looking at this Carolina team, it feels like the two biggest things that have been consistent in all their losses, it's one, the slow starts, and then two, the inability to close out a game. When you're looking at the final stretch of this game where Louisville closes the game on a 13-1 run, Carolina doesn't have a field goal the last 5 minutes. What are you kind of seeing as the issues for this Carolina team and the worrying trend that it's become where, this isn't like the first time where they've had struggles closing out a game?
Yeah, one of the things that I notice is like when the game gets really tight, Carolina for some reason starts forcing everything. They start playing uncharacteristically, or at least uncharacteristic to what has given them success on the offensive end, and they go away from it. I'm looking at I just heard listened to a video from Kobe Bryant, and he was talking about the difference between his time and how they played basketball and how basketball is played today. And basketball, he said, play today is just like we just run a play and we hope to get something or get a good shot. And it's like the difference when he played is like we were very strategic in what we did. If something worked, we knew if I drive this way, this defender is coming over, I'm kicking it here, I'm kicking it there. And the reason why I bring up that example is because I look at Carolina, it's like, why didn't Ian Jackson touch the ball in the last 5 minutes? When you look at the way the game was going, he was the only one that was generating any type of offense for Carolina. And so I'm questioning, like, what is this coaching? Is this the players like not comprehending what's going on? Like, I just don't understand why Ian Jackson didn't get the ball in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, Ian Jackson was one of the bright spots in this game where he scores 23 points, 7 of 15 from the field. We've talked about it before where he feels like he's one of the few players on this team that can kind of create his own shot. And when you're talking about the final 5 minutes, we're not talking about he didn't get a shot up. We're talking about couldn't even get the ball.
He was, I mean, I'm looking at him. I'm like, when I watch film, I try to look at the whole court, but I was like, I wanted to see what he did. I went back to when it was 69-70 and he knocked down the free throw to make it 69-70. From there were 4 turnovers. There were missed shots, but he didn't get the ball. And I'm looking just at the trend of the game. And he, like I said, even if it was him, he one time got the ball going up against Chucky Hepburn, one of the best defensive players in the country. He gets stopped, but he passes it off to Drake Powell and just creates a small closeout because the defense said this guy has been killing us really the entire second half. We need to square up and make sure we're stopping him. They created a small closeout situation, which is creating an advantage, and Drake Powell gets to the basket, gets fouled. It's like I'm just starting really to start questioning, like, is this an ego type of thing? Like, does the guys really want to win, or are they more about themselves? Like, it's starting to look like that a little bit.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about at times where this Carolina roster is what the Carolina roster is. Like the transfer portal doesn't open up mid-season to fix some of the glaring issues on this team, particularly at the center position.
Yeah.
But I also have a hard time being like, this is like a personnel issue. When you're looking at this North Carolina team, you have a reigning ACC player, All-American type player in RJ Davis. You have Drake Powell, you have Ian Jackson, a couple guys that look like surefire NBA prospects right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels disingenuous to just be like, what Carolina has is a personnel issue, because I know if you ask Louisville, they would kill to have some of the players on North Carolina's roster. Some of these teams that are taking down North Carolina would love an Ian Jackson, would love a Drake Powell, would love an RJ Davis.
100%.
So I think it is kind of finding that balance where, yes, there are some personnel issues, but something is off with the scheme where somebody like Ian Jackson doesn't touch the ball the final 5 minutes, doesn't get a shot up the final 5 minutes. When you're watching the game and you're seeing how the game flow is kind of developing, like Ian Jackson was your best player.
It was, and that's why I understand RJ Davis is the reigning ACC player of the year, but that mentality is, okay, he's coming in, he's the focal point of everyone's scouting report. But I'm looking at the trend of the game, and if Ian is going, so what? He's a freshman. Who cares? Like, this is about winning ball games. And to your point, the talent is there. I think that's where everyone's so frustrated, is because they see the talent. It's just not equating to wins. And I just look at yes, RJ is the reigning player, but or ACC player of the year and has done really good things, but they have found someone who can take that pressure off of him. Let's find out what he can do and let's get him the ball because he was the one creating offense for them. So I just think, like, again, the talent is there. One of the things that I've also realized, I think it's a lot of undiscipline too. Like the fact that you look at Louisville, they have 39 total free throws, and that could have been more if they would have made their 1-and-1s. Like Carolina had so many opportunities to take advantage of those missed 1-and-1s, but when you're undisciplined on defense, that leads to foul trouble, that leads to miscommunication, that leads to guys just looking lost on the defensive end. And that's also what it looks like. Like it just looks like they're lost in all aspects of the game.
Yeah, that was going to be the next thing that I was going to ask about, the defense, where Carolina at times just looks so disorganized on defense. They're fouling 3-point shooters. They're giving up lobs at the rim. A lot of defensive breakdowns. And then you listen to Hubert Davis in the post game, and he's kind of saying like, "Hey, this is where we have to be better on the defensive end." But if you listen to the post game press conference after any time Carolina loses, a lot of the same talking points are being repeated. Yep. So when it's an issue game 1, it's an issue game 3, it's an issue game 5, and now it's an issue this Louisville game. How do you kind of balance that as a player where it's like, our coaches clearly has a game plan. Our coach clearly has points of emphasis, but there's some disconnect there where the points of emphasis aren't being met on the court.
Yeah. This is when your leaders step up and say, hey, look, like the coaches, they're giving us all that we need. And look, I'm not in the locker room. We're not in the locker room. So we're only, speculating here. But I would think the coaches, their job is to give you what you need. It just seems like it's not being applied. And it's frustrating. And your leaders have to step up and they have to walk in and say, hey, look, they're giving us everything. Now it's time to execute. It's time to go out there and it's time to be disciplined. And it just seems like there's a lot of undiscipline out there. I look, for example, and I'll give an example, is the pick and roll. It was Chucky Hepburn, it was Elliot Cadeau, and it was Vin Allen Lubin. Right in that span of that 5 minutes. There is a late clock situation where I know when we play, we call it red, so we switch, but it was always a contact switch. It was never a pointing and leaving the ball and allowing a dude to walk into a wide open 3-point shot. And because you're undisciplined and you just step away, Elliot Cadeau just steps away from Chucky Hepburn. And now Vin Allen Lubin is closing out on him in foul. You get a 3-point shots at the free throw line. Like that play in itself is just a microcosm of them being undisciplined on the defensive end. And I'm looking at it. There's a lot of times, one time Vin Allen Lubin is sitting in the middle of the lane and he's looking around like, whose guy is that? That tells me that there's a disconnect and that there's guys that are lost and people aren't paying attention to the scouting reports. It's just, again, one word sums it up. It's just undisciplined and not paying attention to detail.
Yeah, I think it's either undisciplined or disorganized would be the two key words. Yeah, you're looking for when you're talking about Carolina on the defensive end. I think it's also worth mentioning that for this Louisville game, Seth Trimble was out with an upper body injury. What would you say Seth Trimble's absence kind of does to this UNC team, and how much of a difference does he make when he's actually out there and able to compete with his team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to say it. Everyone knows that he's the best on-ball defender, or at least one of the best on-ball defenders in the country. And he's the best defender on the Carolina team right now. So not having him defensively does hurt, because when a guy is like Chucky Hepburn has it going And there were times where he just got in the lane and it just became a mano-y-mano, like, you can't guard me. I'm bullying you and I'm going to just get to the basket. And he did that quite a bit in the second half. And I think if we remember last year against Syracuse did the same thing to Carolina. Just, y'all are too small. We're going to attack you in the paint and we're going to keep going at you. That's what Chucky Hepburn did. So having a guy like Seth Trimble would have eliminated that to a certain extent. And I think he's the one that hurt them as they went on that 13-1 run in the last 5 minutes. So missing a guy like that does hurt when you got a guy like Chucky that's going.
Yeah, I love for the people that don't really follow college basketball that closely to turn on like the Carolina Louisville game and be like, damn, Chucky Hepburn is at Louisville now?
Right, exactly.
makes the switch over from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And looks pretty good right now for this Louisville team under their new first-year head coach. But a quick break so I could remind everybody about our friends over at Johnny T-Shirt. If you're going to be in Chapel Hill, visit Johnny T-Shirt on Franklin Street. And if not, no worries. You could go online, johnnytshirt.com. Great people, great customer service. They have everything that the Carolina fan could possibly want. The hats, the T-shirts, the jerseys, you name it, they've got it. I'm on their website right now. They currently are ringing the new year with a huge Tar Heel hat sale up to 50% off. They have a bunch of the old school look, the vintage collection. It's really a great selection, great prices, and we want to support the people that support us. And don't forget, Inside Carolina, premium subscribers save 10% off their orders. Joel, we took to Instagram. We took some questions. The most common question, where I'm not even going to give one person credit because it was about 75 to 100 people asking the same question. If you had to make a prediction right now with Carolina at 8-6, is UNC a tournament team come March?
I mean, at this trajectory, or at this trajectory rather, I will say they still are a tournament team. You look at their 2-6 in quad one. They don't have any really bad losses. I just think they have slim margins right now with what's in the ACC and what's out there right now. They can't have any bad losses, which is the quad 3, quad 4. They can have a loss in the quad 2 and quad 1, but they have to take advantage of those opportunities in quad 1. The good thing is they still have Pitt out there who they play twice. They still have Duke, and they also have Clemson as well. Those are quality games that you get 2 bats at it. So they have to take advantage of those games. So I will say, if they take advantage of those opportunities, they will be an NCAA tournament team. If they have one or multiple losses in those quad 3, quad 4, then it gets a little shaky because they don't have those quality wins in the quad 1.
Yeah, I think you kind of go into the season just assuming Carolina is going to be a tournament team come Selection Sunday, and the margin for error is definitely shrinking by the week for this Carolina basketball team. The next question comes from UNC fan 2350. The premise of the question is the center position has kind of been disjointed for Carolina this entire season. It doesn't really feel like people know, who's going to be playing a majority of their minutes. Kind of hard to get into the flow with the center position. But the question is, would James Brown playing at center make a big difference for this team with the lack of production from the bigs?
Look, I will say that I don't know. But one thing I will say is if he's competing his butt off, which is what this team is lacking, they're lacking any type of competitiveness right now. If he is the one competing, and he might not be the most talented, he might not be the best option, but hey, if he's out there competing, I'll put him in at this point because the competitiveness just hasn't been there for this team. And so I think at this point we've tried, Vin Allen Lubin, we've tried Jalen, both Jalen's. I think you might as well just give him a chance and see what he can bring to the table. I will say in that Kansas game, he came in and really fought his tail off there in that first half and got a bucket leading into the second half that probably sparked the run that Carolina had in the second half.
Yeah, I think the worry with James Brown is that he's played in 6 games this season. He's averaging 2.7 minutes per game. I think it's kind of like the backup quarterback in football when your quarterback is struggling, where the backup quarterback kind of becomes everybody's favorite player until
Right.
it's time for the backup quarterback to kind of go in, and then he gets thrown into the fire. So there's probably something there where maybe you could go to him for a spark, but also there's probably a reason why he's playing, less than 3 minutes per game, to where with this coaching staff and the heat getting increasingly hot on this coaching staff,
Yeah.
I don't think they're thinking like, hey, this might be the savior for our season right now with everything that they kind of see in practice. Because
in some way it seemed like it might feel like you're just throwing in a white flag,
Yeah. And it kind of goes to the point that I've talked about with football sometimes where people are asking for backups.
Yeah.
The coaching staff is playing the people that they think are going to win games. They're not going out there like, people. Yeah, they're not going out there like, you know what? Maybe. Well, let's see how this one goes. They're pretty confident in these guys are going to be the guys that give us the best chance to play. If somebody's playing less than 5 minutes a game, there's obviously a lack of belief or a better belief in the players in front of them. But this next question comes from Owen Smith. What do you see as the most glaring issue for UNC besides the lack of interior presence?
It's defense. It's the perimeter defense. When you don't have the shot blocking ability on the back line, it's a lot of pressure on the guards to be good defensively. You have to be active defensively. You have to keep that ball out at half court as much as possible. But the problem is that they play gap integrity defense, which they're not pressuring or they're not denying the ball. So a lot of teams just really just sort of run dummy offense. And even on some skip passes, I'm like, that's an opportunity to get a steal. Like, just the activity isn't there. And that's the most glaring thing to me is they're one of the best teams offensively, but you look at defensive wise, they're just not there. So for them to be a better team, I think perimeter defense in particular, the point of attack has to be a lot better. Their guards have to realize, like, there's no back line. We got to be better defensively out on the perimeter.
Yeah, Ken Palm has them as the 25th best offensive rating in college basketball, and then it's a pretty big drop off to 63rd defensive rating for this Carolina basketball team. But on the topic of pressure, Braden Moore asked, why do you think Hubert Davis and the staff don't press to speed teams up? Because wouldn't the assumption be that it would benefit this North Carolina team that wants to try to play fast?
Yeah, I mean, pressing, you have to realize like that you got to have the team and you got to have that ability and have worked on that throughout the summers or the preseason to be able to press. I think it's easy from the outside to look at pressing as the option. I will say maybe change it up, like give different looks, just because this defense and going man to man strictly hasn't been working. I would switch it up, but pressing is tough because now you take your legs from the offensive end, being able to run. So it takes a lot, but I will say maybe changing up the looks. doing a soft press, doing like a 2-2-1 soft pressure to shorten the shot clock, which shortens the amount of time that you have to guard one-on-one. I will say they might need to look into that. But the coaching staff knows this personnel more than we do. Maybe they don't have the ability to press.
Besides just being a deeper team and having just more bodies to throw at another team when you're trying to press, what kind of personnel are you looking for to know that, like, okay, this team does have the makeup of the team that can press?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have the bodies. One, pressing takes a lot. That's why you don't see like the teams that you see that even put pressure 94 feet. They got to have bodies. You got to have bodies to be able to do that. But the reason why Carolina can't do that is because they don't have in their players that they play consistently and often, they're not getting that production. So you have to keep the players on the court that are producing for a long period of time. Like, RJ and them are playing a lot of minutes per game. It's like, who do you go to once they get tired? And if you haven't been doing this consistently, you can't just in the middle of the season say, hey, let's start pressing, you have to work on that. So I just don't think Carolina has the personnel, one, but they also don't have the bodies to be able to do it.
I have this thing in my head with like word association. Whenever I hear the word press, I just think Bob Huggins and press
West Virginia. I know. Press Virginia. And people can't, like, it's really tough to do. Like, that's why we used to pick up at half court, but pressing 94 feet takes a lot out of the legs. But I'm like you, man. Every time I think of that, that's what I'm thinking of. And you don't want to go against that crap.
All right, let's take a quick break so I can remind everybody about our friends over at Congruity. Congruity is the leading provider for Tar Heel business owners, payroll, HR, and employee benefit needs. Inside Carolina listeners can get a free payroll and HR assessment by emailing Matt at Congruity. Email is matt@congruityhr.com. That email again is matt@congruityhr.com. All right, let's get back to the episode. This next question comes from River Bishop. How does Carolina fix rebounding? They got out-rebounded in the Louisville game, 43-37, which has normally been a staple for Carolina basketball teams, being like, hey, we're going to go in here and we're just going to out-rebound you and be able to steal a few possessions that way.
Yeah, well, one thing what Coach Davis might want to do is take a book out of Coach Williams, or take a page out of Coach Williams' book and go over there to that practice gym and take off all the rims and only work on that ball hitting the backboard and everyone boxing out. And you know what? We did that and it turned into a slugfest. But you know what? It made us rebound defensively. It made us, everyone had to go block out because you had no clue where the hell that ball was going. I mean, it could hit off the top of the backboard and go somewhere you didn't know it was going. But that's what needs to be done. To fix that, a lot of guys, when the ball goes up, they're turning and they're looking. And guys are just shooting right past them, going to get the offensive rebound. What does that mean? That's being undisciplined, and that's not paying attention to detail. The ball goes up, and when it hits the rim, your first step is towards your guy, and you want to get a body on him. You have to feel him on your backside. And that's what they're not doing right now. And like I said, that's something you got to work on in practice, and that's something that the coaches have to put on the players, put the pressure on the players. And if someone's not doing, you got to get out of the game. It's just that simple.
In those Roy Williams practices, was there any warning, or did you just show up to the gym and you guys just see no rims?
No, we showed up in that practice gym and there was no rims. Everybody was looking around like, hold on, what's going on today? And coach pulled us right out there and he told us, we're not playing, we're not doing good defensively. We're not boxing out. Everybody's too worried about the offensive end. So you know what? Today, no baskets. We got guys shooting free throws. We got guys shooting free throws just hitting the backboard. Crazy, man. But hey, it got us. That was the year that we won the national championship. And that's what turned it around for us. We like this team right now. They're good offensively. Yes, can they be better? Of course. But they're working with limited personnel, especially in the front court. But defensively is what's going to change the outcome of this the season for this team.
I'll tell you what, man. I think I'm speaking out of turn, but I think Roy Williams would have loved me as a player. I was the number one box out guy.
Of course, you played football.
Yeah. I was great at taking charges and I was great at boxing out.
Oh, you would have been yes. Like the Marcus Page.
Yes.
Do no wrong.
You said it, not me, but I will take that. That might go in my new Twitter bio. That I would have been Marcus Page in Carolina basketball.
Do not do that. Please do not take that to your head. But of course you would have done it because you played football. Football players, they look for contact. Which hey, you could play. That's what they need. They need somebody. I want to see them knock somebody on their butt. And you know what? Clap. Like, that's what I said. The competitiveness isn't there. I don't see, like, they cheer when it's all good, but there's no, like, look, I'm in your face. Like, I want to see someone get in somebody's face. I want them to, I don't mean to boost myself, but like, that picture I had with Gary Trent Jr. from the ACC tournament where it's like, I'm holding the ball, come take it from me. Like, I want to see that type of competitive. It's just not there.
My stat line in pickup basketball, I'm like a 2 points, like 10 rebounds type of guy.
But hella fouls.
The moments that I have that are really good are very limited. But there's no moment like one of the first possessions when you see somebody flying for a rebound and you're like, oh yeah, I'm about to catch him. And then you know what happens that next time? He doesn't come in as hard.
Hey,
I'm telling you got that head on a swivel.
Hey, those like, I'm not a dirty player by all means. I don't play dirty at all. But there are opportunities where you can put that, hey, this elbow right here, it solves a lot of problems. It solves a lot of problems. I'm telling you, you put one in somebody's chest. You don't have to, knock somebody out, but you put one in somebody's chest, it does make you think twice about going in there trying to fly around and get a rebound.
There's a huge difference between being a dirty player and being a tone setter.
Exactly. 100%.
We need tone setters.
We need some tone setters. Like, that's what I'm saying, man. Tone setters and competitiveness solves a lot of stuff. It solves a lot of stuff, man.
I'm gonna pitch this to Johnny T-shirt. It's just gonna be a cartoons of our elbows, and it just says tone setter. One of your elbow, one of my elbow, two elbows just coming together.
Yeah, up in the tone setters, up in the rafters, the tone setters. I'm telling you, man.
But Carolina basketball is back in action this Saturday against Notre Dame. Notre Dame's having a moment right now. Their football team goes on to the semifinal. Carolina now plays them in basketball. It is a noon tip-off from South Bend, Indiana. CBS has the game. We will be back next week to break it all down and everything that kind of comes with Carolina basketball. Joel, man, appreciate the time as always and appreciate everybody watching and listening.
Go Heels.